For a lot of people, the word interview conjures up images of maybe sitting in a room with all white sterile walls, and then there's somebody sitting at the other end of the table looking to judge you and interrogate you. But what if I told you that you could shift your perspective on what an interview is so that you can interview more confidently and so that you can leave a lasting impression on your interviewers and on the people that want to hire you? It's possible. And in this video, we're going to be talking about that. It's important that you shift your perspective on what an interview is. An interview is not an interrogation, okay? An interview is an opportunity for both you and the company that is interviewing you to learn if you are a great fit. I know that this may, bust some of your paradigms about trying to impress the person at the other end of the table, but really when you see this as a two-way conversation, as I'm getting to know you and you are getting to know me, it can take some of the pressure off. And one way that you can do this, and one way you can initiate this two-way conversation, is to ask questions at the end of some of your answers. Not every single answer that you give in an interview will require you to ask a question, but the way that you can initiate that is by simply not just giving answers, but also asking questions, right, during the interview, not just at the end of the interview. There's also that, asking questions at the end of the interview, but there's also conversation during the interview. What does an example of that look like? So let's say that you are going to interview for a medical writing job, and the interviewer, the panelist asks you, so tell us about your last role. And maybe you worked at a marketing agency, right, as a scientific writer, which is something that I really did. Here's how I'd implement the advice I just gave you. My last role was at a marketing agency. I worked with a team of writers, brand strategists, and graphic designers, and we worked together to create content assets like white papers and application notes and blog content to help life sciences companies market themselves. I was reading the job description and I noticed that in this role, I would be expected to write application notes and white papers as well. Am I correct on that? So you see, you answer the question, right? And then you just tagged on another question, right? And so then the interviewer is prompted to answer your question because, again, you are getting to know each other and trying to see if you are both fits for each other. The second tip is to realize that the interviewers are human beings just like you. Actually, funny story, I recently was on an interview panel where we were interviewing somebody to fill a role, and I remember that most of the interviews were around lunchtime. So guess what I was thinking about during those interviews? Lunch, okay? Yes, it was important that I asked the right questions and got a feel of who the person was and, documented that so that decisions could be made. But really, my mind was also on lunch. So realizing that people are just people and they have the same life issues, they have the same maybe similar, not the same, but similar circumstances, problems, right? Because all human beings, we have shared experiences. Just realizing that the interviewers may have shared experiences with you can be helpful, right? And so as you converse, one of the things that I want you to do is to look for those hints where they mention maybe, my child or my dog or something like that. Sometimes it can be, and of course, don't make this super cheesy and uncomfortable. But if the interviewer brings up something personal, right, or brings up something that you were not expecting, it's a good opportunity for you to comment on that and just chat a little bit. So seeing the other person as just a person or seeing the interview panel as just people with the same problems you have can also help you see this less of an interrogation and more of a conversation that you can be confident about. Confidence is a muscle. People have sometimes asked me, have I always been this confident and articulate and be able to express my ideas the way I express them. And the reality is, when I was growing up, I was pretty introverted and didn't always want to talk to people, right? And I'm sure some of you watching are like this. Maybe that's why you're watching this, right? And so, yes, I actually in my earlier days had some of those difficulties. But over time, as my parents and people around me encouraged me to be part of group projects and encouraged me to, express my ideas more, right, I have improved. So you may feel like you don't have a lot of confidence now, but confidence is a skill. Confidence is a muscle that can be developed. And so what I would encourage you to do is that in your everyday life, look for opportunities, maybe to say hi to that person that you've never said hi to, maybe to ask somebody how their day is going. You don't have to be best friends with everybody, but practicing in these small ways can help you build confidence. And if you don't practice it, right, it's never going to get better. So make it an aim, right, to practice confidence. Because trust me, confidence really, yes, I get it that there are some people that come across as being super confident, but most likely they've had to work on that confidence. And when it comes to this area, I really want to encourage you to have a growth mindset rather than having a fixed mindset. This idea comes from Carol Dweck's work. She's done a lot of research around the growth mindset, which says that, I don't know something, but I can try to work at it to develop it, right? Versus thinking that, okay, I'm not confident. I wasn't born with confidence. I wasn't born an extrovert. So that's it. That's the end, right? If you have more of a growth mindset towards building confidence, you'll realize that over time you do improve. And over time you can have conversations very confidently. You can ask questions confidently, including during interviews. Now, during the interview, you've been having a conversation, you've been picking up on cues, you've been asking questions, right? And you've developed this conversation and you've learned a lot about the company, about the role, and that other person has also learned a lot about you. If you have any remaining questions, this is not the time to keep quiet, right? Ask them. Now, the reason I'm encouraging you to have this two-way conversation and to build up your confidence muscle and really see confidence as a skill that you can build is that most of the time we don't feel confident because we feel like we don't have control, right? But when you ask questions, when you piggyback off what the other person is saying, you take some ownership of control during that conversation, and it can be a big confidence booster. And talking about taking control of things, watch this video right here where I talk about becoming the CEO of your own career and taking charge of your own career growth.